Welcome back to the Skillabration podcast. Today I have Laura Mann with us. She's one of the teachers at Skillabration. She is trilingual in Spanish, English, and French. So she holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in foreign languages and a graduate certificate in Spanish language education. She's originally from Colombia. She's been teaching English, French, and Spanish as a second language, both in the US and her home country since 2018 across various educational levels from kindergarten to adult and private and public schools. She's very creative, passionate about languages and cultures. Laura strives to immerse students in the Spanish language while sharing her Latino cultural traditions, customs, and holidays alongside those of other Hispanic countries. Welcome to the Skillabration podcast, where it's career day every day. Your host, Nikki Lubing, is the owner of Skillabration, an online foreign language school for K-12 homeschool students. Nikki's experience learning Spanish as a second language led her to building a variety of skills that set her up for life, from soft skills to financial literacy. It's her mission to provide those same skills to youth around the world through the Skillabration podcast. We'll be interviewing guests from a variety of backgrounds and careers, ranging from teachers to business owners and blue-collar workers. We're excited to uncover their wisdom and experiences, whether it's mastering a new language, honing leadership skills, or learning the ins and outs of money. We're here to take your skills from zero to fuego. Let's go! So, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for this invite. I'm honored to be here with you today, Nikki.
I'm so excited. So tell us first, what got you interested in learning other languages?
Well, since, I was very young, probably elementary school, I always loved literacy. I love to read. I love to write as well. And then we started learning English like in 4th, 5th grade back in my home country. So I got interested in English, and I always wanted to learn. And then I found out that the university that I went to, they offered this career that is foreign languages. It was English and French. I was never exposed to French, so I was like, oh, I really want to learn this language, And yeah, that's when I was like, I love cultures, I love languages, and then once I was in the career, I was like, the opportunities that languages gives you, like go to other countries, meet new people, learn cultures, learn traditions. So yeah, it was, explore and open my mind to other ways of living and traditions around the world, what make me want to learn languages.
So what part of Colombia are you from?
I am from a city called Tunja. That is like 2 hours away from Bogota. Bogota is the capital, and it's the mountains. So we have the same weather all year around. It's funny because everyone thinks that Colombia is like warm and hot, everywhere. And where I'm from is not like that, So it's like, oh, so you're always in the hot weather. I'm like, no, I'm from the mountains, and it's like fall here. So that's where I'm from.
Nice. Do you miss that climate?
Well, I've lived in different parts of the USA. I came to Boston, then I moved to Chicago, and then now I'm in Florida. So I think we have like that perfect weather where it's not hot, it's not cold. I never experienced a cold like Chicago, for example. That was my first time. And yeah, I used to complain about my weather. No, my weather is perfect. It's not cold, it's not hot, but Chicago's winter are, well, another thing. So I do miss it. Of course, at home.
Yeah. I understand. Tell me a little bit about learning French. Was it a little bit easier than English because of being a native Spanish speaker? And also, did you study abroad in France?
Well, first, yes, I think for me at least, I started my career thinking that I knew some English already, not French at all. But once I started first semester, I remember my first class. The classes I was taking, either classes in completely in English or French. And Spanish will be like, the extracurricular ones that are like everyone. And for me, English was frustrating because I feel like a lot of students came from bilingual schools. I came from a public school where you will learn English in Spanish, let's say. So I feel like I wasn't at the level of my classmates, so I was very frustrated. While for French, for me, was kind of easier, and it was similar to Spanish as well. So I used to love more French than English. But yeah, and then you start learning the culture. I feel like pronunciation as well, it was easier for me than pronouncing English, because kind of similar grammar, it's similar, a lot of words, they like written similar, but you pronounce it different. So I think it's more similar. And about your second question, I have been to France, but I've never studied. I just went just for a trip and loved it as well. It's a beautiful country. But then I understood with English, you have more opportunities than with French, at least for me,
Sure, I understand. Where did you go in France when you went for your vacation?
I only went to Paris. Yeah, Paris, because it's big.
Yeah.
I think I spent a week and a half and I still couldn't see everything. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. I loved it.
I've been to Paris 2 times and I absolutely love it too.
Yeah, like every time that you go, I'm sure you do something new, right? It's like New York.
Yeah.
Always something to see. Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about Paris though. I just take it easy when I'm there. Like, I don't really do that many touristy things. I, maybe go to a couple of museums, but I just sit back and enjoy the cafe life.
I think that's what France is known for, right? People just relax. I was just reading, I love this actual American writer, Ernest Hemingway. I've read 2 books of him. And he always talked about Paris. He loved France. And yeah, I see this life where all these writers are, hanging out at the coffee and just talking and enjoying, and go back to work and then come back to the coffee and go back to work. And then I was like, yeah, that's what France is. Totally.
Yes.
But I do like seeing things. When I go to a place, I try to see as much as possible. Like, I'm crazy. But I understand what you say too.
Yeah. When you visited Paris, did you speak a lot of French, and did they respond to you in French?
Well, the thing about France, Paris especially, is that it's like New York. It's very touristy, So I feel like everyone there was like from somewhere else but France or but Paris. And the locals, I don't think they hang out by where the tourists are. So honestly, I used English. I didn't use. If I will see people, like, I will try, but sometimes when they don't understand, I don't know if this is a stereotype of French people. I'm sorry, French people, but like, if they don't understand what other people are trying to say in French, they don't even bother to try. They're like, no, let's speak in English. So yeah, no, I barely use it.
Okay.
English was my main way of communication.
Yeah, definitely. I love picking up a little bit of the French when I'm there because I speak Spanish, so I can understand a little bit more easily probably than, other people who don't speak Spanish. You can just pick up languages, especially Romance languages, a lot more easily. So I feel like if I lived there, I'd probably be speaking or be fluent within a year, maybe even 6 months.
I agree. Yeah. Once like the grammar, and like we have a sound, a similar intonation, so you will get it. I agree.
Yeah. So it's interesting when you said that the French pronunciation was easier for you than English. I find French pronunciation very difficult, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I always, and I read this somewhere and I tell this to students. I think Spanish or Romance languages pronunciation is easier than English, but grammar is harder. We have so many rules, so many exceptions, so many things because it's easy. It's, the sound of that vowel is the same sound for every word. While in English is like you have apple, but then you have table, but they, like different ways to say letter A. So I think knowing that it was easier for me to speak French than English.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I'm sure did French help you with your English too? Because there's a lot of cognates between French and English. Yeah, I mean, obviously with Spanish too, but not really.
Not really. No.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I don't think they're similar. More with the Spanish.
When I interviewed my French teacher, she was telling me that French has the most cognates out of all the languages compared to English. Yeah. So we get some of our...
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Okay, so let's go back to Colombia. What are some facts? Yeah, what are some facts that you'd like to share about Colombian culture?
Okay. My culture. I think we are very warm people. We're very welcoming. Family, like every Latino. We're it's pretty similar, like every Latino, we are very, family is the most important thing, not only nuclear, like mom, dad, sister and brother, but uncles, cousins, grandpa, even the dog of the house is important, in our reunions or events. Music, we learn how to dance very young. At least I did. My family was like that. And you learn with your cousins, you learn with your uncles, you learn with, your family, because those are the first kind of parties or gatherings. It's your family, right? And there is always music around and people are dancing. I didn't know where I was going to a party where people don't dance. My first time was here in America. That doesn't exist in our country. You go to a party, you're going to dance. You're not going to just stand. And if you don't know how to dance, it's bad. Like sometimes you don't even have fun, You're the one who is over there on the side. So I think that's very important, our culture. I don't know if you've heard this, but especially with my Latino friends, they usually think there is an accent in Colombia, specifically from Medellin, where they think all of us speak like that. Why? Because a lot of famous people are from that area, like singers, like writers, like painters. And then I meet people and they're like, where are you from? I'm from Colombia. Oh, but why don't you speak like that? I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, that accent, it's called Paisa. It's from Medellin. So I'm like, well, because I'm from the mountains, I'm from Bogota, Tunja, and yeah, I think that is always crazy. Many people ask me that, especially people who know Spanish. Those are like the facts of my country. Yeah.
What type of music did you dance to growing up? Is it cumbia or
cumbia?
Okay.
Salsa. I don't know if you've heard about salsa.
Do you do the Colombian style salsa? They move the legs really fast?
Yeah.
You know how to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Oh, wow.
Actually, in my wedding, I made my husband dance salsa for our wedding song. That was fun. That was, because even if you do it slow, it's something wow here, well, in Colombia, there is so many great dancers. It's like, oh, it's okay. But here, like, people are amazed by how we dance. And merengue, reggaeton, we have so many type of music. So,
do you have a favorite that you like to dance to, or its favorite style?
Probably salsa. Salsa, I think, is fun. And salsa is like, you gotta connect. It's a connection. If you don't connect with your partner, it's a disaster. So I feel like it's not easy, you're putting effort into it and you just enjoy the music. You just feel like you gotta understand the rhythm of the music and know how to change it. yeah, I miss that. I mean, because it's hard finding good dancers here. Or like if you go out, people just, it's funny how it is here because people just follow the 1, 2, 3, one. I don't know how they do it. 1, 4. We never learn like that. We just natural do it, and sometimes when I'm like, with my husband, he's like, but no, tell me it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, no, listen to the music. You go with the music. So yeah, that I mean, I totally miss that from my country.
I was taking some bachata lessons, and
Mm,
a guy in there was telling me the same thing. He's from Mexico, and he was saying like, we don't learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's like, we
no,
just know, we just dance. So you're the second person I've heard
exactly.
that from.
Yeah, we
It's in your
just
blood.
with them. I guess I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I don't know understand the numbers thing honestly.
I love it though. My favorite is bachata. I wish I
Eh,
loved salsa, but it makes me dizzy.
My husband says the exact same thing. He's like, "No, you are spinning too much." Yeah, probably. Yeah, bachata is it's fun. I just feel like after a while, after the same step, I get bored. I need to go on
Yeah.
a little more action, So yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about like how you came to the US and how your experience has been living here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first time that I came to the USA was 2017. I came through a program called Au Pair. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we come, live with families, learn English, the interchange experience. And that's when I came to Boston. I lived there for a year. So we have the opportunity to stay another year if we want, or if we want to come back. So I stayed another year. And your second year, you can move to another city in the United States. I always wanted to go to California. I don't know why. Well, I feel like everyone, you know. And I've had a family in San Francisco, but then I met another family in Chicago. I always heard about Chicago, but everyone was like, "No, don't go there. It's so cold, so cold." But I don't know. I am a person who believes in like energies, So I
Mm-hmm.
really like the energy with this family, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna go to Chicago. I don't care." Yes, the winter was brutal. No, I never experienced something like that, but the summer is the best. That was probably my best year. I had so much fun. I met people from all over. My best friend right now, she's from Colombia too, but we met here. I met my husband there. So many friends that I have up there, so many people. Then I went back to Colombia. Then I came back again. I did like some student visa. I studied English, and then I got married, and now I am in Florida. Yeah, that's how pretty much I stayed in this country.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the au pair experience. So, were you a nanny?
Yeah, it's like a nanny, living
Okay.
nanny, you will
Yeah.
call it. Some families they want you to speak Spanish to the kids. I was thankful I didn't because I knew before coming I needed a family me to who wanted me to speak English. That way I get fluent in English. My goal here was like, okay, I want to get fluent in English.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was. We will have a schedule Monday through Friday, some weekends, and we will have to go to English classes as well to get better with our fluency. And yeah, we will travel. Sometimes we will travel with the family. Sometimes they will go to vacation by themselves. Yeah, they provide, some of them provide car, depending where you live. Both
Mhm.
times I live in the suburbs. So yeah, I have like, you have certain benefits. If you live in the city, well, you just can't move around, using public transportation. So it's a really nice experience, especially if I I don't have any family here. So I feel like if you just come in by yourself and you have, for sure you're living with someone and someone is willing to teach you how to live here. Because even going to the store is different. Driving the the rules, the signs, everything's different, you know? And someone has to be willing to say, okay, this is how American life is, you know? And I liked it. I liked it, well, ups and downs, like everything. But I made my best friends and really good people through that program, and I learned a lot of life, especially how to be by myself.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, you have to be pretty brave to do that on your own like that. So, was there a
Yeah.
lot of fear before you left? Or
I
were you
think
pretty
before
just like,
you, no,
go
you
ahead?
were so excited. It's
Yeah.
like, you have stages, you know? First,
Yep.
you're super excited to move to this new country, and we came to New York. So, oh my God, of course, first time in New York, the movies, I'm here like in a movie. It's crazy, you know? Then you get to try food. Then you get to go to places. I remember the first time that I saw snow. Oh my God, I was going crazy. This is the coolest thing ever. After 3 weeks, I was like, I'm done. I don't want this anymore. But you are just so stimulated by everything that you see, right? Maybe 4 months in. Then comes around the holidays, Christmas, you know, we have a special holiday that is called Candles Day, Dia de Velitas.
Mhm.
That is like, my family is very big into it, and like we all get together and the big dinner, and you're just here, you're not doing nothing. And then you have see social media, everyone is hanging out, everyone is like getting together, and I feel like it's when it hits you, it's like, oh, I miss my home, I miss my food, I miss, you know, I miss everything. So it goes like that. And then I feel like eventually, okay, you just, okay, I'm here, I am adapted, but I am from there as well. So it's
Yeah.
just a process. Some people decide, no, I don't want to stay here, and they go back, you know.
Oh, like
I
in the middle of
decided to say,
their program, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, yeah. There
Yeah.
are some girls like, this is not for me, you know? Or some others that stay like a year and say, I want to go back to my country. I miss my family. I miss my house. I miss my culture as well. So it's, migrating is, it's a lot. It's a lot of feelings, a lot of situations, like put yourself in a lot of decisions that you gotta make, and only you can make the decision, you know, nobody else. It's like, it's up to you. No your mom, no your dad, because your parents always want you there, but sometimes you want to be here, see the opportunities, but you want your parents here to be with you because you feel lonely, you know.
Mm.
So it's totally worth it. I will do it all over again. I've learned a lot.
Yeah. That's so nice. How did you meet your husband while you were here?
Funny story, dancing.
Oh.
So I had a friend who had a boyfriend, and he was American. So my friend was Colombian as well. And she wanted to take him to this, there is a bar in Chicago, in West Loop, that is Colombian. Actually, it's called Escobar, like, Escobar, but it's called Esco and Bar, you know, it's
Oh.
separated. And it's Colombian, like play a lot of Colombian cumbia, salsa, merengue, bachata. And we were like, okay, let's take him there. We were gonna meet some friends there, and her boyfriend was like, oh, can I invite a friend? He knows how to dance too. That way he comes and dance. And I was like, yeah, like always very welcome, you know. And yeah, he came over. He's supposed to be Cuban, but actually he was Colombian. So there was like a misunderstanding there. And that's how we met. We danced all night. I made him dance because he, I mean, he comes from a Colombian roots, but he grew up here. So, but he was involved with the salsa, cumbia, bachata. And yeah, as I said before, we don't stop dancing. We dance all night. And yeah, after that, the rest is history. We're here
Aw, that's
today.
so sweet.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
no, it was fun.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
What stereotypes about the US ended up being true or untrue when you came here?
Oh, wow. That I feel like by now I forgot, but yeah, I have a good ones. I think Americans are cold,
Really?
but I don't
Well, I
think
guess, yeah, compared to Latin America, I see what you mean.
exactly. So after meeting different cultures here, like Germans, like Russians, I understood that the Americans are now cold, that Latinos are too warm, you know? And yeah, we for example, our personal space is like there is no personal space, you know. You hug, you give kisses, you like we are so close to each other. We are very welcome with people. Well, here is not that they are not welcome, they just wait first to see like, oh, you know, I don't wanna like get too confident, you know, just wanna see how things are. Over there we don't care. We just very close, very close. Other thing that I thought, like I heard from people and I thought it was weird, like people here don't really walk, only if it's the city, like New York, Chicago, but everything here is within driving distance. You know, I've heard that. And yeah, it is true. Like if you want to go, Chicago is different because of course you can walk everywhere, but the suburbs or the towns, you need a car for everything, you know. In Colombia, it's one car per family, and that is like to go on a trip or something like that. But you walk to school, you walk to work mostly, unless you live in the city, in the Bogota. But still, you take transportation, or if you want to go to the pharmacy, you walk. So I feel like that was like, oh, okay, interesting. Well, I don't know how this sounds, but money here is like, you know, like people of other countries think we have a saying, el dinero crece en los árboles, you know, money grows on trees.
Mm.
But I think it's because, especially with Latino countries, is because $1 is like 4 Colombian pesos, for to say it in some way. So, you know, it's more. So everyone think like, oh my God, here everyone has a lot of money, but also here it's more expensive. You know, rent is more expensive, health insurance, transportation, gas, everything. Well, that is something that, yeah, you know, everyone here has a lot of money, and it's because the money is more, but also the cost of living is higher than if you go to Colombia, for example.
Mm.
So I think it's not that they have more money, it's that our economy is not as good. And I guess another one is that there is McDonald's and Burger Kings everywhere. And that one is true, you know? Colombia is not like that. You don't have a Burger
Yeah.
King every corner. No. And that is something fancy, you know? You want to go to McDonald's? Okay, I'm going to go to, it's like a Sunday, you know? It's
Yeah.
not expensive. It's cheaper to go to a small traditional Colombian restaurant than McDonald's. Well, here is the opposite, you know? And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that one
interesting. Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, I've the fast food thing is pretty hilarious, but also kind of sad.
Yeah, I know, but because it's funny over there, you say, okay, let's go and give ourselves a treat, you know, this weekend, and we go to McDonald's. Well, here is the opposite. Okay, I don't have money. I'm gonna go to McDonald's. The contrast. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting too what you said about money in general, like the perspective once you get here that, you know, not everybody is rich by any means. What do you think? That made me think of asking you, what do you think of our work ethic? Is there a certain mindset or perspective or maybe like stereotype about our work ethic as Americans? Or I'm just curious if Colombia has any thoughts on that, Colombians.
yeah. I feel like we think more about the money than when we actually think that, yeah, people here have money, but how long they work, you know? Uh, I mean, I don't think people are aware of how many hours you have to work here to make certain amount of money. And the thing about Colombians too is like we have way more holidays, public holidays, than the United States. I think the United States have like 11. We have like between 18, 20. one of the
Wow.
countries with more holidays. Yeah. And yeah, we like taking breaks. We like taking, many holidays. Like I remember 2 weeks ago, I called my mom. Oh yeah, it's a holiday. And then I called her the week after. Oh yeah, it's another holiday. I'm like, 2 holidays in a row. I miss that, you know?
Yeah.
And well, here is not, it's not like that, the people work a lot in the USA, and you want money, well, you gotta work, and
Yeah.
life is way more expensive.
Yeah. And we have inflation, high inflation
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Exactly.
What tips do you have? Let's like shift gears a little bit. So what tips do you have for language learning in general? Thinking about our young students, whether we have work with a lot of middle school age students, so we can kind of
Mm-hmm.
focus it around that.
Advice is that immerse ourselves, but not immerse ourselves in a way just move to a Spanish speaker country. No, we can do it from our everyday activities. For example, reading, for example, switching your phone, that is a huge thing. I remember the first time that I switched from Spanish to English. I was so lost. So I will go back to Spanish. Okay, understand. And then, okay, go back to English, and I will do it until I got it, Even the computer is still like all of those features, like what you use every day is going to totally help on your everyday tasks. TV, I'm sure, I don't know how many, I've heard this situation from a lot of people, but I feel like Friends and TV shows like that help us a lot to gain another language, especially because in high school and college, you learn like academic vocabulary and structures. But every day, like slang or culture aspect, you can only learn it from TV shows, from TV, from seeing other people. And that's actually one of my biggest issues when I first came, because I feel like I would go out and listen to people and I wouldn't understand when they were speaking in slang. So I think TV shows were great for me, or for people in general, I think. I feel like also, how we learn our mother language, we listen first, then we talk, then we write. A lot of theorists do
Right.
the same. Totally agree. First, listen, educate your hearing, like how to pronounce especially. And then even if I feel like with a lot of students, they are scared of talking, they're like, oh, I don't know how to say that. Doesn't matter. What do you think? What do you think it is? Go ahead, try it. I'm here to help, to judge you. I feel like a lot of people are scared of that. And I noticed, oh, I know a lot of vocabulary. I've been doing Duolingo. And I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. Okay, but how do you use this in the real world?
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, take the risk, make the mistake, use it someone. I love, like, I have worked in different things here. For example, I work in restaurants as well. And I love when, I have an accent. People will come up to me and like trying to speak in Spanish, and sometimes you're like, okay, if I was too busy, I would be like, I can't do this right now, because you take so long for me to try to help you, But if I had time, I loved it. I was like, yeah, go ahead. What are you trying to say, And I will help them. So I feel like that's the best way. Push yourself. Go to a Latino store and try to, buy there. Also here in America, there are so many clubs. I have volunteered to immigrant and library organizations. And yeah, like that is amazing. We had also students from high school who will come and they just want to talk, talk. So I feel like that's the way. Just push yourself out there, put in situations where you need to learn the language as well. Listen a lot, read, and use it on your everyday, your phone, your news, your computer. That will help a lot.
Yeah. One thing that you said with switching your phone, it made me think about your level of commitment, or anybody's level of commitment for learning a foreign language. You said, okay, I switched it back to Spanish, but then I switched it back to English. So don't just give up when you don't understand. or don't just give up if you make a mistake, because that's actually progress.
Exactly. And that's what I tell the kids. Like, sometimes they made the mistake, and I am like, okay, I correct them. And then, a couple of activities later, they knew because of that mistake that they made. And I'm like, you see, you learn from the mistake, not for the actual correct answers that you gave me. And that's all what I care, And I always tell them, I'm not here to judge you. Either you conjugate the verbs well, if you don't, as long as I understand what you are trying to say, is all what matters, Then with practice, you will get a perfect, proficiency. But as long as you communicate and try and take the risk, that's a lot. And always encourage that in kids,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Totally agree. And Laura does teach our immersion class, our Spanish immersion class. So you can take a lesson with her if you're interested.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess we kind of answered that question, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about advice for our students learning Spanish or even French.
Well, yeah, immersing is like
The main
yourself, yeah. And I feel also language is consistency and practice, I'm going to be honest with you. I love French more than English, and I used to be better at French than English, but I stopped talking, and I don't really hang out with people. I don't think I will ever move to a French speaking country. I forgot a lot of them. I still have, if I go back, I'll pick it up, but I forgot, so a language is about keep practicing and constant learning. I'm still in English. I'm reading a book, and then all of a sudden this word that I don't know what it means, and it'll change the whole meaning of what I am trying to understand. I'm always learning something every day. Yeah. So with the language, it's every day, all the time.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, even as a native English speaker, I still am learning new words and different things about the language in general. So,
especially now, I think with this technological era, everything's like social media. Even in Spanish, even got a lot of English words, especially when you're like navigating, browsing around the internet or the social media. Everything is now like how. But it's funny because we kind of Spanglish it, like for example, book a trip, buquea el viaje, like we even conjugate the verb that is in English. So I don't know.
And I always would hear my students when I taught at the public school, they say lonche. So almuerzo.
Lonche. Yeah, there are a lot of words that come from English. And it's still like that, or especially now, like, scroll. I don't even know how to say scroll in Spanish, honestly.
What do you say for email? Do you say email?
Correo electrónico.
Correo. You do say correo electrónico?
Correo electrónico. But I'm sure younger generations will say email.
Okay. Yeah. Because that was another thing I said to my students, but it could just be because they were growing up here. They immigrated here, but when they were in their younger elementary years. So I was telling them correo electrónico, but they're like, what? I'm like, email? And they're like, oh yeah, we just say email.
Now I get it.
Yeah. What's the most interesting experience you've had teaching a foreign language?
I will say teaching are like interesting and rewarding. When I work with immigrants, it's very interesting because, for example, the students, they want, they don't need it for every day. Like what we do in Skillabration. They just want to be exposure to a new culture, like it will help developing their language learning as well. But it's because they want. When I'm with immigrants, it's because they need. So it's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
It will impact their everyday lives. It will impact their jobs. It will impact their kids, education. So I feel like that is very interesting because a lot of them, the ones that I work with, at least, they come here older, like 30 and plus, And we both know that the older that you get, the harder that it is. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's more challenging, you know? And, yeah, it's pronunciation, you know, as I said before, pronunciation is harder in English. So I work a lot on that, you know. They don't say yes, they say yes, you know, like I am explaining 100 times and they're like, again. So I keep working with them, but it's nice when they come, because they are very grateful too, you know. They
Yes.
come and they are like, oh, I heard the expression that you taught me, you know. I heard the other day and I knew what it was because you
Aw.
told me. So you feel like that is nice, you know. Like,
Yes.
I also tell them, I don't know why we used to seclude ourselves, you know, because here there are a lot of Latinos, so we stay within the community. We live in the Latino neighborhood, we go to the Latino store, we go to the Latino restaurant, we go to the Latino mechanic. Well, there is a community where you don't need to get out from there.
Yeah.
And I tell them, get out of your comfort zone. This weekend, you're going to go to a restaurant and you're going to order food in English, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even know a lot of dishes from other country, other drinks, other, you know, experience.
Yeah.
So I'm like always encouraging that. I'm like, it's not only a language, but the cultural integration to it, you know, what it gives you, you know, how expand your life and your way of knowing cultures and other people, you know. But people are scared. I was one scared, you know, like when first this is what about language. It can be a lot traumatizing as well. Because if, I don't know, first person say to you, no, I don't understand. And then you are like, no, I'm not going to try to talk anymore because that person didn't understand what I said. And then, okay, you get courage and you try to do it again. And then again, you get rejected. That rejection is going to affect on you. So what people do, I'm going to stay in the area that I know, you know, and where I can survive. And I don't think that's okay because we are a lot of Latinos here. The United States is the second country with the most Spanish speaker after Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and then Colombia. So I'm always like encouraging my community, go out there, try it. And it's rewarding when you feel like you're doing something, you know, like at least impacting in a positive way other people's lives, you know, and say, if I could, you know, because I did it too. I used to hang out with Latinos, but then I realized that, hey, there is a lot out there, you know. Yeah, and it's not easy, you know, because it's a lot. People see life in a different way, you know, behave in a different way, eat in a different way, and it's like kind of, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I better stay in my comfort zone, and I'm happy there, you know. But you can be even better if you try it. So
Totally agree.
I love that about teaching languages. It's not only just a language, it's a lifestyle, it's a cultural integration, it's a understand of other ways of living and traditions as well. I love that's about cool about languages. Okay, why this person talks like that? Why this person dress like that? You know, when we know the background, we understand, and we are like, okay, I respect that. You know, but if we don't know, we are just in the ignorance of knowing other people's behaviors and ways of living.
Yeah, learning a language there's such a richness to it. It enhances your life in so many ways. Mm-hmm. There's the skill of learning the language itself, but then you get all these other branches of skills from learning a language, like risk taking.
Exactly.
You know, learning the culture, building empathy, and just challenging yourself, getting outside of your comfort zone. So good for you for encouraging your community to do that. Bravo.
Yeah, no. Once I was there too, I know what is being there, but also I know what is being here as well. You know, I know what is being in both sides, and my opportunities are way better when I integrate to the new culture, but I keep mine as well. I feel like that is important too. I know where I'm coming from, but I know where I'm going, you know? And there are great things in the American culture too, you know, that we as Latinos, we also need to learn from this culture. And yeah, for me, for example, I'm going to go soon to Colombia. I'm afraid a lot of things because I'm used to this culture as well, that I'm like, oh, sometimes it hits you, you know, the contracultura, like you are
Yeah.
used to this culture and then you go back and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm part of there, you know, now. So
Yeah.
like having that balance, you know, you're from here, but I live here now there, but be able to be in both. I think that's very important, especially if we live here, you know, what's the point? Should have stayed in Colombia and live like
Exactly. Yeah.
you live there.
It's true too. And I think like people want to judge that when people stay in their communities, but I think that's actually very natural as a human being. We want to stay in our comfort zones. That's like a survival mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
We understand our own, so don't judge that. I think it's just natural because I know plenty of American expats, people from the US that go to other countries and they stay in their expat community. So you would do the same thing if you were going abroad too. A lot of people will stay in their expat community and they won't learn the language, or they'll just learn enough to get by.
Uh-huh.
So
To
it's just,
survive.
it's normal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, totally. As I said before, I did it
yeah.
as well. I wouldn't
Yeah.
get out
Yeah.
of my comfort zone, but also once like expand your opportunities, you know, and getting to know other people from other cultures is nice too. It gives you a different way of seeing life. And especially
Yeah.
if you live there, you understand more things of the country. Like you understand why
Mm-hmm.
this works like this, why it works like that, because every country works in a different way, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like, and give yourself more opportunities, you know, don't seclude yourself or limit your experiences. That's what I say, you
Exactly.
know. A lot of people here are scared to go to a Starbucks that they don't speak English, you know. So you didn't have your coffee of the day because you're scared of the Starbucks where they don't speak English. So it's affecting your everyday life from there,
Yeah.
you know.
And
So
once
I'm
you
like,
do it
no,
once, it's like becomes easier and easier. It might take 10
exactly.
times, but you keep getting over that fear, just that repetition of keeping on doing it no matter what happens. I'm curious because you mentioned more like the rejection that people face, but what about the opposite? Have you heard from your students or even experienced yourself where people were more warm and welcoming when you're speaking in English or, just practicing?
I feel like depends on the situation, you know. If you
Yeah.
are in a place where it's busy and they want you to order, you know, people are not like kind of, but if it's someone like, okay, you know, okay, like, especially like hospitals or places like that help people, you know, they are more welcoming. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay, let me see how I can help you. But you will also always find like, oh, I speak Spanish, you know, I can help that person. You always find people. And now, honestly, America is doing a great job of having Spanish speakers in like different services.
Mm-hmm.
So people are more like they have the accessibility to more things with the
Mm-hmm.
Spanish speakers. But I feel like you also need to learn it, you know? Like it's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
again, I'm gonna go to the place where I know they speak Spanish. But the idea is like, no, open yourself to other things.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are welcome, 100%. But you know, it's like a trauma. One rejection and that's the worst, you know? 10 people were nice and, okay, you're motivated, but one person rejected you or treating you not bad, but
Yeah.
not in the way that you wanted to, and you'll get scared again. So
Yeah.
that's what I say. You're going to find those ones here in Colombia, in China, everywhere, in Spanish, in
Yeah.
English, and your own language. So
Yeah.
just don't, put yourself boundaries. Don't block yourself. Keep doing
Mm-hmm.
it, you know? Because
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes that
Absolutely.
happens to me. I know I
Yeah.
have an accent and I meet people and people look at me like, what are you saying? And I feel like I shouldn't say anything, you know, I probably they don't
Sure.
understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But no, I gotta put myself, yeah, like you lose confidence is what I am trying to say. Probably one person give you confidence, but the other one makes you lose it. So always try, no matter what. I'm always going to have my accent. I'm sure I have my mistakes, but you understand what I'm saying. It's all what matters, right?
Yes. Yes, that's a great point, because becoming fluent in a language doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna speak it perfectly. But if people understand you, you can get your point across, you can communicate. That's the important thing.
Exactly. So that's what I always tell. As long as they understand, even if you're not using the correct grammar or even pronunciation, sometimes we pronounce, but I understand what you're saying. You're saying this,
yes,
you know. So
absolutely.
keep
I have a
doing it.
gringa accent in Spanish, so
Yeah, like I have been living here in 7 years.
yeah.
I have my accent. Have you lived in other countries, Spanish-speaking countries?
I studied abroad. I lived in Mexico with a family for 6 weeks when I was 15, outside of Mexico City.
Oh wow!
And then I stayed in San Sebastián, España, Spain, for 3 months in university. And it's kind of interesting what you were saying too about there's different experiences everywhere. You know, you're going to find both types of people everywhere. You'll have some warm, some who may reject you. So like in Mexico, I always felt it was very warm and welcoming. And people were really excited when I would speak Spanish there. Whereas in Spain, it was the opposite. I felt like a little bit more negative experiences there. People kind of roll their eyes or like just don't have the time of day for that. So, or even just like not really liking people from the US that much, you know, not everybody, but I had more experiences with that there in San Sebastián than I did in Mexico.
In Mexico. Actually,
so, yeah.
Something interesting. When I was in college, I think that also happens like in big cities where like foreigners are normal, you know? Where I am from, the school where I'm from is a very small city. We will have probably 3 exchange students for English. So same thing, you know, it's like, oh my God, they are from another country. Everyone like super nice. Like you are invited to everywhere, you know, everyone's super kind, like offer you everything. But it's because for us it's new, you know, you're the first person that I know from the United States or from Germany or from France, compared to a city where, oh yeah, another tourist, you know.
It's funny. Yeah, it is definitely a lot of those things play into it. I agree.
Yes. Yeah, and the experience.
All right. So I do have one other question. What about like, do you have any interesting experiences that you'd like to share? Any like funny things that you'd like to share about learning English or French?
Oh, let me see. I have. I actually English, of course.
Okay. I'd love to hear it.
Oh my God, dishwashers in Colombia are not like popular, you know. So when you come here, I don't know, in Mexico when you went, they had dishwasher, but that's weird. Oh, I'm sorry. When you went to Mexico for the exchange experience,
no dishwasher.
Did they have it? Okay, so now it's getting more popular, but it's not that popular. So I remember before coming, a lot of girls would post on Facebook, be careful with the dishwasher, because you know how there is one soap for the dishwasher and another soap for the dishes. So a lot of girls would put the regular soap, and that will break the dishwasher, right? So I was always like, oh, I don't want to break anything or nothing like that. So I asked that, so how do you do the dishes? I think that's what I asked. And how do you do the dishes here? And he looked at me like, like she's crazy. And he takes a plate and he starts rubbing the plate with the sponge. And he's like, so you take the plate, you rub the sponge, then you turn it around, and then you rinse water. And I'm like, I know that.
I'm asking.
And then I'm like, no, I didn't know how to say it. The dishwasher, how do you use it? Oh my God, we were cracking, like we were laughing because he told me, yeah, I thought that was weird that you didn't know how to wash a dish. I was like, I know. That was so funny. Yeah, always things like that, like
Yep. Yep.
probably you're
Totally.
meaning something and they understood something different. It's always
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
situation
it
like that.
happens. All right, we have a rapid fire round to end our podcast episode. So, what's your
Okay.
favorite lesson to teach?
Definitely culture and expressions and Spanish geography. Yeah, they are my favorite telling thing.
Do you have a background in geography? Like you
No, but I am always being very interested in history, and I feel like I know a lot of facts from other countries, like Spanish-speaking countries, even if I haven't been there, and because of my friends too. Like I always ask them, "Oh, what is this? What is that?" Or we tell stories about our country, so that's why.
favorite food related to the culture of the language you teach. So you could do one for each: English, Spanish, and French.
French. Spanish. In another life, I was Mexican, I guess, because I love Mexican food. And not even my food is my first one. It's Mexican.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love. And fun fact, because I don't know why a lot of people think all Latin America eat tacos and spicy and tortillas. No, that's Mexico and Guatemala, I think, and El Salvador. Colombia, we don't eat tortillas. We don't eat spicy, and we don't eat tacos. Like you go to a Mexican restaurant. But at home, we don't do that. So, but I love Mexican food. American food, oof, I don't know. I'm not really fan of American food. Honestly, I'm not a fan of burgers or things like that. No. But I love the desserts here. Peanut butter. When I first tried peanut butter, I loved it. It was like,
Okay,
this
interesting.
is really good. I am a fan of peanut butter. And French, when I went there, not like the food, but what you say, like sitting down on a coffee and have like with oysters, like that type of thing that French people do. But Mexican's my number one.
Yeah, I like Mexican food a lot too. I would agree. What's your favorite Spanish-speaking country to visit?
I have two. I've never been to Spain. Always curious. I love Europe in general. I feel like it has a lot of history and museums, and it's just pretty. Wherever you go, you want to take a picture. Europe is pretty.
Yep.
I'm a huge soccer fan as well. Today, the Copa America started, so I would like to watch games, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and I love Argentina as well. So either both. I will. Those are my number one. I cannot pick one. I like both. One.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to go to Argentina as well. I haven't been to South America at all, so.
Oh, really? You have to go to Colombia. You would like.
Okay. Now that I have a friend there, I'll have to go visit.
Of course. Is there any part that you will be interested?
Probably Medellin, like you said. A lot of people know of it.
I know.
But no, I don't think I know that much about Colombia, to be honest. Just some of the basic things, but I wouldn't really know where to choose to visit.
But honestly, I love Medellin too. Like I am from the mountains, but Medellin is like nice weather. It's like people are nice as well. A lot of things to do. Lots of things to do. So I will totally recommend Medellin.
Okay. Well then, there you go. Maybe I know more than I think.
We need to plan. Yep.
Do you have anything else you want to say before we end?
I don't know. I mean, I always welcome everyone speak Spanish. I feel like it's a beautiful language. But more than Spanish, welcome to also learn about our culture. But not only Latino, but every country. I feel like every country is different and it's fun. And as a culture, you always gonna be welcome. I feel like wherever you wanna go, any country, as a foreign person, either English, French, whoever you are from, we are always welcome to foreigners and practice with you. So I don't know. I feel like Spanish is a very welcoming language and culture as well. So welcome
It is.
to learn Spanish.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I love about Spanish is that it's easy to read. It's phonetic. So really, I feel like it's a great language to start with learning when you're learning a foreign language. So.
Yeah, I agree. You read what you see. It's what I say to students.
Yep.
Every single letter that you see, you're gonna pronounce it. It's not like in English, you know.
Thank you again, Laura, for coming on to the Skillabration podcast. It was absolutely lovely speaking with you. And for those listening, make sure you check out the links in the show notes or in the description, because we'll have links to Laura's classes. Laura is used to working with adults too, and we offer those directly on the Skillabration website. So if you are interested as an adult to take lessons in Spanish, you could do that too. But our other classes, she's teaching middle school Spanish and then also one-on-one tutoring for ages 8 through 18. So be sure to check that out and sign up with her. All right. See you guys in the next episode.